elbows. We are here for another Get Lit podcast, and we are so excited to kick off the new year with this podcast. And today we'll be discussing AI in education. Please help me welcome Dr. Jennifer Miller-Ray.
Thank you, Dalen Dunbar. This is a great topic to kind of kick off our spring semester with our Get Lit podcast. So I'm excited that we're focusing on AI this spring.
Yes, ma'am. And to waste no time, my first question for you is, what steps should universities take to prepare students for a future where AI plays a significant role in the workforce?
You know, Dalen, that's a great question because AI is a language. And, you know, like all language, that requires a focused effort to build scenarios in which our students learn how to utilize large language model data sets. And not just how to utilize those data sets, but to communicate fluently the meaning to a professional audience or in a business setting. And it's often a global audience. And so we have to really think about how we prepare this next generation and how they can use AI to look at big data sets and to generate new ideas from those large data sets. But also to learn about the barriers and issues like biased data sets, data privacy surrounding AI. And I just want to kind of highlight, you know, this really isn't a new topic. We've always talked about technology. You know, technology is just a tool, and language has been around since the beginning of time. And so we got to think of it like we would even when I was young. You know, if I put garbage into a search engine, my results from that search it may not be accurate, it may not be relevant, it might not be useful. And that really is a literacy. And there's a lot of this. If you've used spell check, you have used AI. If you've used Grammarly, you have used AI. So learning how to prompt engineer a model and apply critical thinking skills to evaluate the information outputs is really, really critical toward any of our students moving forward in any field, because this is going to impact every single industry in our world. And so this provides enhanced performance if we know how to do this well, because we're able to quickly learn new information based on these data sets, and that is a future-ready skill, which requires us to be digitally literate, which is why we have the Get Lit podcast. And what does that mean? That means that we're media literate. We have a sound understanding on data privacy and what we don't want to put in a big data set. You know, we don't want to put personal information in a big data set. We want also to learn how foundation models can be used in all disciplines. In order to do this, universities will have to provide training to faculty that is discipline specific. What I mean by that is, you know, we've got data sets for, you know, geology for different landforms. We have data sets for medical. We have data sets for different purposes, and how those models work and the tool or the application you use to run that, and also the type of communication medium that is outputted will shift, and it's very much dependent on the discipline that you're teaching at the university level. So I think we have to kind of look at it that way as well. And in order to do this, we really hope that we can then integrate AI across curriculum. I also believe we need to develop specialized AI degrees at the university because of this. We need to explore ethical and responsible use of AI and to foster disciplinary collaboration and provide many hands-on experiences to promote AI literacy. So there's a lot coming at us quickly, and I think that's why it can be somewhat confusing.
Or overwhelming as well.
Yeah,
I agree.
For sure.
I agree. To touch on some of the things you said, There's a concern that AI might encourage passive learning or just giving kids answers. So how can we design AI tools that foster critical thinking and creativity rather than just providing answers to them?
Yeah, there's always that concern when technology is involved. And it has been, for my entire career. Do we want... I really want to encourage the audience to think about how we can humanize AI. We want to humanize AI approaches so that it's imperative that we keep relationships centered to any education experience. So what that means is we need a humanized approach to how we serve our students. To me, this goes back to the science on how we learn as humans. We are more than just a robot or a machine. And I think that's really critical to continue reminding anyone when we have a topic, we have a discussion on AI. Learning must be active, okay? So we can have really bad learning experiences where we don't have new knowledge and we're kind of, we hear it often in the public, dumbing down a new generation. You might hear that. We don't want to do that, right? So we want to think about how can we inspire our new generation to be critical thinkers, to be creators, to be human, okay?
Exactly.
So how do we foster that? Well, if we know that learning is an active and process, it's also a social process. So when we're thinking about using AI tools, and we're thinking about teaching and learning, social interaction is super important.
Has to be there.
That's how we remember information. And so AI tools, when used correctly, can foster that critical thinking through scenario prompting, and it can be used as a social learning process. I'm going to give some examples, but in addition to that, if we use it correctly, we can foster also and stimulate writing engagement. Believe it or not, we can use AI to improve our writing. We don't often hear about that in our field, but I have seen that and actually have had graduate students measuring that impact, and it is occurring. We can use AI tools to brainstorm collaboratively in groups, to think about maybe how to integrate the social piece into machine learning. But in regards to creativity, having access to these large amounts of data can spark new ideas, because when we're working in groups or working with our human professor, we can make sense of the AI data sets and identify new approaches. We can identify gaps in literature, gaps in research, needs. We can forecast needs in business. When approached this way, AI can support collaborative creativity. I think that's the key. Collaborative creativity by fostering collective problem solving and through personalized feedback. So one of the big advantages to AI is it can target the feedback instantly and personalize it for your needs. And that can really transform our learning. While AI can offer valuable assistance, it's essential to design tools. So you're talking about, so there's the how do we use it in the classroom, but there's also how do we design it from the business standpoint. So what should we be thinking as a designer? I would really stress, it's important to, think about maintaining control over, allowing users to maintain control over their creative process.
I agree.
And AI should serve as a facilitator of learning, providing suggestions and insights without dictating the outcome. This preserves the user autonomy and encourages, independent thought. So by implementing these strategies, I think we can move beyond just providing answers using AI to really becoming a catalyst for critical thinking and creativity, and it can really empower users to engage deeply with the content and develop innovative new solutions to every industry.
For sure, and we want to emphasize that, AI can never replace a teacher teaching these things. They're just a tool to help enhance the learning experience.
Yeah, a chatbot and we are seeing models of AI teachers or AI chatbots, but without that social piece, without that human element, it's going to lose the wow factor.
For sure.
And so if we can keep that in the back of our mind and keep, and that's why it's so important to advocate for a humanized approach to how we learn.
For sure. And so my next question, what role can AI play in early childhood education? And what are potential benefits of introducing AI at such a young age?
That's a difficult question because we know too much screen time is really hurting our learning because technology does change how we think. Okay, and so at least I believe that is the case. And so we know that the screen time can have a disastrous impact on the development of young minds and bodies. Children of adolescents spend a lot of time watching the screen. This includes, when I was young and my children were young, they had we had the television, and we had, I had a cell phone and I had a computer, but it was, in a family room, Now,
ultimate access.
it's in our vehicle, it's in our hand. It literally is with us everywhere we go. And what kind of impact has that had in the last 15 years on our cognitive development? And so that's really what I've been trying to think about, during my doctoral studies and even now. So on average, children ages 8 through 12 in the U.S. spend 4 to 6 hours a day watching a screen.
It's a lot.
And teenagers spend 9 hours a day. And I honestly think it's probably more than that. But this is the information where I've been given from the American Association of Pediatrics. So young children under the age of 5 should have very limited screen time, with the recommendation of 2 to 4-year-olds only having 1 hour a day, on the screen. And if you're 5 years and older, it's 2 hours. So now, does that mean that we don't have any digital literacy skills? No, that's not what that means. What that means is we limit it, and that we make sure that if we are going to provide screen time, that it's really, really, really beneficial, that it's really going to help their learning. And that is where the science of how we learn comes in. And that's why it's so important that we train our teachers how to use correct technology approaches, because it is a science. So why is that important? Well, recent research reveals that older children, those that are 12 to 24 months, who spend 2 hours a day in front of a screen, are 6 times more likely to have a language delay. So we're seeing a lot of kids coming to pre-K or kinder, and they can't speak. They have a language issue. We definitely saw this during the pandemic. We saw the rates drastically increase. We know that there was a dramatic learning loss due to the pandemic and due to how, what happened during this horrific 4 or 5 years, the last 4 or 5 years. So that's a huge problem, and the problems are compounded when we start interacting with electronic devices earlier than 12 months. So let's say we have an infant that's in front of a screen all day. It even makes it more of an issue. However, did you know that AI can actually address this issue? A lot of people aren't aware of that. In fact, through personalized learning, AI is really helping us close the learning gap, the learning loss from the pandemic, if we use it correctly. How? Well, there are several speech and language AI development tools that can help meet the needs of these children so that they don't have a speech delay. So personalized applications can help us change the pace, the content, the sensory stimuli, and minimize distractions, and also think about their learning preference. We can even add gamification to really make it more visual. We can make it tactile, which is super important for early childhood, to support children with autism or ADHD by keeping them engaged. And this can reinforce executive cognitive functioning skills and help us maintain attention so that we can involve our senses, multi-sensory instruction, so that we can hopefully see growth in our oral language development, which is the foundation of reading. If we don't have oral language, we cannot learn how to read. So when we see the reading loss, it's very much connected to digital learning and digital technology, but that's also the answer in a lot of ways. So that's why it's important to have this as a field, as a science, and also I'm happy to have that graduate program here at the university.
All of us are. And what you touched on, the last part of that, brings me to my next question. How can AI assist in designing a curriculum that is more adaptive to the needs of individual students or specific communities as well?
AI can be used to help teachers so much. I mean, it really helps make our job so much easier by making us more productive. Often I hear, I don't have time to do this engaging, interactive, active learning social lesson. I don't have time. I have to focus on, often a standardized test or some sort of, content issue. And it's because they don't have the time to make it more engaging. However, with AI, it saves so much time. It makes your life
way easier.
So much easier. We're so much more proficient. So I think that time-saving advantage can really help us improve lesson planning and delivery using many different language generation tools. So I used to spend hours a day preparing an engaging lesson. But now I can use a tool like Magic School, and I can create a strong question stem to assess my students' learning instantly. Like, it doesn't take a lot of time for me to do that. I can quickly provide, attend to my grading so that the feedback is instant and personalized to that student's needs. And one thing we know about the brain is the quicker and more immediate the feedback, the more I'm engaged and the more that I want to continue learning to meet the goal. So if it takes a week to get feedback from my teacher, I've kind of lost that sense, that ability to really make that learning more powerful. It loses the impact, right? The longer the feedback delay. So instant feedback can be used with AI tools, and that timing of the feedback and reflection and the prompting to provide better feedback can really impact student learning growth, engagement, and hopefully knowledge transformation. AI helps us accomplish these things. Applications like Magic School, EduAid AI, Parlay, these are all tools that I'm using with my students right now. So many more helps us really improve our questioning, our prompting, our feedback, our production tasks. I can be more of an efficient teacher. However, yes, the teacher is still the expert. You're still the expert. You are a leader, okay? Believe it or not. And we must maintain that, that stance, because you as the expert, you as the educator, you get to evaluate the accuracy. It's not always accurate. The question prompts aren't always the best. So I still have to evaluate the outcome of whatever AI tool I'm using to make sure that it's appropriate, and then to customize it so that it fits my particular classroom and my particular teaching style. So it's very, very important for our educators to remember to protect the classroom data, to protect their student information, but also this is why training is essential in AI learning. An AI learning resource specialist can really assist schools and colleges, universities, even corporate training. This can really help you improve training approaches and learning approaches, not only in the classroom, but beyond. So I'm very excited, about all of this because it's happening so quickly, and I can't wait for our Noise scholars to share more about AI.
I'm so excited to interview them as well. It's going to be so exciting. And we have learned so much today about AI and education, and just get the juices flowing in our brain. Well,
all right. Well, thank you, Dalen, and we'll be back next week, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. So thank y'all.
Check us out next week. We're going to be back talking about how we can use AI in the math classroom.
Yes, and we're so excited. Thank y'all for tuning in.